Welcome back to What the Fertility. Today we have Tiffany on with us. She is local to Charleston. We are so excited to have a Charleston girl on with us, but she has a 2-year-old daughter after going through 2 miscarriages and a myomectomy to remove fibroids. And now she is trying for a second and has suffered through 5 more miscarriages. But we are so excited to welcome Tiffany as she shares her journey and what's kind of next for your family. So welcome.
Thank you. Certainly excited to be here. I mean, I guess if you, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyone that's listening to this kind of gets it. Not excited to be a part of this crowd, necessarily, but excited to share my story. So, if this helps one other person, then it's worth me sharing this journey. Okay, so I guess we'll just kind of start from the beginning. So I met my now husband back in 2019. I was kind of seeing someone at the time, so nothing, we were just kind of met through mutual friends, and that was that. We reconnected in 2020, and it was very full on, very quick. I knew very early on this was my person. And so we got married a year later, and we, I mean, I guess I'm gonna share this. Like, we'll see what family listens to this. But we kind of tried like the month before. I came off birth control, and I was like, well, let's just see. And I was doing the ovulation strips. Like, I just kind of started from that. Like, I had
You were
friends
like
that.
ready to have a family.
Yes, and thankfully he was like, all right, okay. He wanted to wait till after we got married, and I was just like, well, let's just see.
But just by
So
the time we're married, at that point we'd find out. And yeah.
exactly, yeah. So one time was all it took. I knew when I was ovulating, and I got pregnant right away. Um, but if it was all that easy for me, I wouldn't be here. So, we went on very naively, like that was a miscarriage. So I went in for my first, ultrasound appointment. We're super excited. I was about, I think, like around like a little over 8. So I think it was like 8.5 weeks for that first appointment. And we go in, there's no heartbeat. Um, and the baby I think was measuring like somewhere between like 5.5, 6 weeks. And my OB was like, all right, we're just gonna have to monitor. That's kind of, so then the next 2 weeks was like, I think we did 2 more scans. But in that first scan, it was very hard for them to see anything because we found I had a very massive fibroid
Oh, wow.
that was like pushing my uterus forward. So it was very, very large.
That has to
No,
be such,
I'll talk more about that later, but I'm
I know
sorry, go
Amanda
ahead.
and I are like, oh my gosh. I mean,
No, I know.
it has to be such like a wild ride of emotions because you're coming off this high of getting married and then you're like, oh my gosh, and like we didn't struggle,
Yeah.
we like immediately got pregnant, and then you're just slapped with like not only an iffy ultrasound where it's not just like, oh, we get to like go tell everybody now, but like also maybe some additional health issues.
Yeah. And like, before, like I had just gone to this OB like as a new patient before I was just with like a gyno, and like she was like, how did your gyno not know that this was there? Like, 'cause it was so large. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, that was what I was gonna
um,
ask. Like, have you had any? Because I mean, I may be naive to fibroids. I don't know like too much about it, but does it cause like pain or anything like that? Like, have you had any issues like
so
younger?
I've always had heavy periods. Like I was put on the pill very early, like for like forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I got put on at like 13, and then like we tried coming off of it like when I went off to college, and I had to go back on it. I can remember my freshman year in the dorms like crying like in fetal position, like I'm in like so much pain from cramps, and like so I just always had heavier periods, and always had bad cramps. So it wasn't like, anything that,
That's just
I,
like such a testament to how like the industry just like masks people's pain with that birth control, and then like you're sitting here and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a massive fibroid.
yeah, so I have no idea how long I had it. Like I have no idea. But yeah, we went on for the next 2 weeks, a couple more ultrasounds, of course, blood work, all the good stuff. And it was just like this like 2 weeks of just living in complete limbo. It was a nightmare. And unfortunately did not end well. And you get set, after the last ultrasound, it was, I get sat down by my doctor and I'm told, okay, you have three options. And I was not prepared for that day. I'm told you can wait for it to naturally happen, or you can take the pill, or you can do a DNC. For me, um, I at that point I was like, once you're ready for a baby, you're ready for a baby. So I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to just wait. I have no idea when my body's going to decide to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so the other two were the only options. And then in my head, a DNC just felt so like clinical. Like I didn't want to be like in a cold doctor's office or
Yeah.
hospital and having it
Don't want to
removed.
do anesthesia and like it's
Yeah.
scary.
So then I chose the pill. That worked, but that was a whole nother layer.
First, I'm
you get the
sorry.
prescription and it tells you on there, this is the medication for abortion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like a whole.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
I
such
know.
a mind F because obviously you don't want an abortion.
Right. Like, I
And
mean,
then only
I just cried, when I was like, what can we go then? I'm like,
Yeah. And
I
it's so, and I don't know if this was your experience, but I think like for me at least, it was like the pill sounded so much like quote unquote easier or intimate or like not as like invasive. But then you're like, you're getting the Medicaid. First of all, you have to go pick it up. And you're like, what are these people thinking on the other side of the
yeah.
counter? And then you're reading it. And then like you're like inserting them. And it's a lot. And I don't know for your experience, mine took like multiple rounds.
Thankfully, mine was just one round, but your doctor tells you it'll be like period cramps. Okay. It
Right.
wasn't the beginning, and like so all weekend I bled and I'm thinking I did it on Friday night and I'm thinking I'll be fine to work on Monday. And I think it actually ended up, I think I worked on Monday and then Tuesday, like I had to call out. Like I was working
Yeah.
from home, but like I had to like call out because I mean, yeah, and it I mean you have contractions and
Yeah.
all
yeah,
of
that's what
these.
I mean, it's full on contractions.
Yeah. And it's just, I was not prepared at all. I went in, like I said, very naively, first pregnancy, like, and had no idea. And yeah, so that was quite an experience. And like when you pass it, like, you passed the
Oh yeah.
baby. And that's like a,
Did your physician or
Mhm.
OB, did they give you like I remember mine was like giving me pain meds with it, like hydrocort, I don't know,
Yeah, she
hydrocodone or
did.
something. Yeah.
And I think I took a little bit of it, but I'm always a little like weary of,
Same.
taking
But it's so
medication.
weird because I remember mine too was like it's really not that painful. And I like wanted to say, I don't know if I said it or not, but I would be like, oh, have you done it? Like I just think it's so
Yeah.
horrible that like that's the advice they give you. And then you're
Oh,
like, oh yeah, have you done this?
yeah.
So
But yeah, so that was the first experience uh um and yeah, like at that point, like you're just like, okay, well, I want to have a baby, so we're gonna try again. So I waited a cycle, try again. This one was really weird. I tested like right around the time that I would get my period and it was negative, and then I ended up being like a few days late and then it was a faint positive. That one, now I know, that was like very clearly a chemical. A couple days later, after getting that positive, I started bleeding. So went back to my OB and she's like, okay, at this point, I don't know if it's the fibroid that is causing your miscarriages because it was like pushing on my uterus. And she's like, we really don't know. I think we should remove it. And I knew if she removed it, she had already told me at my first appointment, at some point, we're going to have to remove this. So, if this is the first one, if this is a viable pregnancy, my suggestion would be to remove it in between, if your family planning. Like if you decide to have more, I would suggest to remove it after this birth. And with that fibroid, I would have had to have gone a couple weeks early. She would have done a scheduled C-section because they really don't want your like your uterus. There's a chance that it could like I guess like burst
Well,
or
yeah, and doesn't it, I guess, or I don't know where it was in yours,
they
but
grow with your pregnancy.
and so it makes the space smaller for the baby. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, there are people that, have healthy pregnancies with fibroids, but yeah, they definitely watch them. I mean, to be honest, like I really didn't do that much research on it because so after the second one, she literally told me, I think we should remove this. This could be the cause of your miscarriages. 2 weeks later, I was under the knife.
Yeah.
Also didn't really know like, what that surgery was going to be like.
Huh.
Mine was too large. So a lot of them are done laparoscopically. I was too large for that. So I have a scar that's like this big.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it was the size of like a softball grapefruit. Like it was very large. And then there was two other little tiny ones that she went ahead and removed at the same time. When I came out of surgery, it was good news and bad news. Good news was, everything was removed and it actually wasn't as attached to my uterus as she thought. So the incision was very, very small on it, which meant that I wouldn't have to have C-sections after she felt confident that I'd be able to have vaginal deliveries.
Oh wow.
Bad news was because it wasn't as attached to my uterus, she no longer felt like she could say that was the cause of my miscarriages.
Oh my goodness.
So,
And
yeah.
you're probably just like, oh my gosh, I think we all do things for our future babies that are terrifying, and you're like, I did this so I could have children. So you're probably just so frustrated.
Well, it was just hard because you think that you have an answer and then you're left going, okay. And then the recovery was pretty terrible. I took 2 weeks off of work, but she suggested 2 to 4, and I had to go back, and I regret going back. It was also, time of COVID. This was, sorry, I guess I didn't really give like full timeline. So my first pregnancy was March of 2021. Well, technically, I guess I got the positive in April. But it was from like a March cycle. And then the second one would have been in my second positive was in July. And then the surgery was in August. Um, Also, the other positive, I will say, of it not being as attached to my uterus was before surgery. She had told me, you're going to have to wait 6 months before trying again.
Oh my,
And after the surgery, she was like, because it wasn't as attached, it'll probably be 3 months. We'll monitor and check on you, but it'll probably just be a 3 month wait. But yeah, that was a really, really hard time in my life. Like I said, I went back to work a little too soon. It was like, I mean, you don't really like think about it, but you use your core for everything. Like, and I mean, getting out of bed every day was like such a chore. Like it was, and then you're supposed to be active to try to work out the soreness, but like it was awful. Oh, and I also, my bladder, I guess, was full. So she nicked it. So then I had a catheter for like a week. So that was like another like
oh my
fun
gosh, you
thing.
poor thing.
But then I had to go to a urologist and all of that as well. But listen, if there's been something that has happened to me, like it's gonna.
So I mean, you're like a
Um,
full year in from like getting married and starting to try, pretty much.
well, honestly, I mean, it was like six. I mean, honestly, 6 months because we started, right away. So like timeline really like, especially now, it's timeline really wasn't bad, all things considered, what I went through.
Right.
At the time, of course, everything was so heavy, and it felt like it was a lot. And it was, like, I'm not diminishing that, but of course, now
I really resonate with your
we
story
are
too, because it's
four
like,
years
yeah,
and
and you feel like I keep getting pregnant quick, where some people it can take like for people that have recurrent loss, it can take like they're getting pregnant only once every year. And I feel like both for you and I, it was like, well, we're able to get pregnant really quickly. It just like we can't keep them.
yeah, it's like the biggest blessing, but the biggest curse.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard. So yeah, we like during that 3 month period though of not being able to try, it was really hard. All I wanted was a baby. It was, I don't think a lot of people know like how dark it was for me at that time. And like, it was still like COVID and stuff. And I was like work from home. Like my office was also going under renovation. So like even when our other offices like went back to work, like ours like was not. And it was just like really, really hard. Yeah, I was just like I felt so isolated. I knew no one else that had gone
Had you
through. Like,
shared any of this with your family or friends, or was it very private?
yeah, yeah, and like I had friends that had miscarriages at that time, and most of everyone had just had like one. No one had to go through like a surgery or anything. Like I just really like didn't know, and um So just like not being able to try was really hard. Like I found myself down like all sorts of like internet rabbit holes, and I read It Starts with the Egg. Like I was doing anything that I could control at that time, which was obviously very little. Um, But yeah, so I mean, I didn't go crazy with stuff. I didn't like replace like all of our cookware, because that book it goes like very, like
It's overwhelming.
a lot of yeah. So I tried to like okay, no more plastic, Tupperware. I tried to put all of our food in glass. My husband started taking a vitamin, like so. There was like little things that like I took away, just trying to kind of clean up things. I started, I did the ubiquinol, and things like that. Some of like the recurrent, like in that book, it gives the recurrent loss kind of protocol or whatever. So I started all of that, and then yeah, it was just like a waiting game. And then that first month of being able to try was in October, and oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, I just was, it was like, so like robotic and like forced really like, and I did not get pregnant that month. And like, it was so hard. But I did have a friend that it was the sweetest thing ever. She got me, a little package, a little like kind of like, you're trying kind of package. It had like pineapple juice for implantation. It had, like a fertility a bracelet, like with crystals. It had, the St. Christopher, like a coin, a little thing about him in it, and some like other like prenatal support vitamins, and then it had a manifestation book, and that honestly like really helped me because like I just like really like I said like I was not in a good place mentally, and just like having something to like you wrote down like oh gosh I'm trying to remember, but it was like I think like through like every day you wrote down your manifestations like repeatedly, but you also like would write down like things that like you're grateful for, and like that helped me a lot because it like kind of just like reframed like where it just like made me be grateful.
Isn't that so sweet? Like for listeners that maybe are listening to this for like a friend or like a family member, like how something like that, I mean, that was what, like 4 years ago, and you still remember it? Like
And
that's
I
so
passed
cute.
on that fertility bracelet.
Oh,
So yeah. And then that friend actually, when I passed it along, she didn't know, but she had just gotten pregnant.
oh,
Um, so that was really cool, and she was able to share that with me. But yeah, I remember passing that along, like it really touched her. And yeah, no, that like that. Even I've told my friend Katie to this day, like how much that meant to me, and it really did. It helped. And like that next month that we tried, like it wasn't as like forced, I just was like, I kind of got myself to like a better place. Like it's gonna happen when it happens, and it did. And now we know that miracle, and she's nothing short of it, especially now after trying for baby number two. Like she's nothing short of a miracle. Um, but yeah, she'll be 3 this August. But
I'm like over here emotional too because like you just, and I'm sure Amanda is too. It's just like when I mean, not like it was easy for you to have your first. You had 2 miscarriages, which is more miscarriages than any person should have, and it is more than most people do have. But then you
yeah.
look back, and I know we haven't gotten into the second half of your journey, but you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like the chance that this actually worked was way more rare than I thought it was at the time.
Yeah, for sure. But that's around the time that I found your podcast. So when I was, working from home, I would like listen to it during that first trimester, and I've been listening ever since.
Good for
Um,
you for listening while you were pregnant after loss.
I don't know, but yeah, I was in a place where I did a lot of like, like I said, the rabbit holes, and like
Yeah.
I don't know why, but second time around, I have not done all of that. You kind of, I don't know, live and learn, I guess, but yeah.
Congratulations. That's so amazing, the
Yes,
miracle.
thank you.
Like, and now that she's almost 3, that's insane. Like,
She's, oh my goodness, she's such a hoot. Like that she just, this age, like it's challenging for sure, but like, oh my goodness, she's like the sweetest, like has the most like bubbly little personality, and just everything she does is just the cutest.
I love
I love
it.
it. Yeah, so very, very grateful for her. But, at the time, because, I did get pregnant so easily, we still didn't really know if the fibroids were the problem or not. Like, I just never imagined that, maybe I would only get one. And it's just so hard because, had I known what I know now, I think, I don't know. I don't know if I would have tried again. It's so hard to say. But in a way, I kind of wish I would have been a little bit more like prepared and not, again, not so naive. I still thought maybe I could have 2 to 3 children and definitely get like let the 3 go. We've moved on from the 3 like that. I just don't think that's in, I don't know. I don't know that I have it in me, to be honest. Like that
Yeah.
fight again, like
Yeah.
I
it's a
feel
lot.
that so deeply.
Like
Like,
having
so
to get to a place like mentally and emotionally where I could let go of that picture of what my family might look like. That was hard. Um, and I guess now it's time to kind of jump into trying for number 2. Um, so the first time that I got pregnant, so she turned a year in August of 2023. I got a positive. We've always said we would start maybe talking about trying again around that year mark. I wasn't quite ready. But then we kind of got a surprise positive in October. So it would have been from that September cycle. But what was kind of weird about it all was so one of the fun things about pregnancy is you can get hemorrhoids. So I had the pleasure of getting a hemorrhoidectomy a year after Hazel.
Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
awful. I don't wish that on anyone. Yeah. So, and there's a chance that I might have to do that again, any other pregnancies that I have. So my doctor told me that at my very first appointment. She asked me, she's like, "Are you planning to like continue having children?" And I was like, "I would like them." She's like, "Well, there's a chance that you'll be back to see me."
Oh my gosh. That's
So
fun of all of this.
yes, right. All the things that we do. So I had that surgery like right after her first birthday. Um, because you can't swim or anything. So I like held it off through the summer, but it was something I needed to have. Like I was definitely having a lot of pain. And I was like, this is not manageable. I'm gonna have to do this. So yeah, I had to have the hemorrhoidectomy. So I had that in August of 2023. And then I ended up having an abscess 6 weeks later and had to have emergency surgery.
Oh my God, you have not had good luck with your surgeries.
no.
So, and then of course they test you for pregnancy, like when you go in for emergency surgery, and that came back negative. And then, this was a couple weeks later because it was too soon, of course, that, I got a positive. Well, spoiler alert, this ended in a miscarriage. Like the first number I knew, gosh, I'd have to look it up and what it was, but it was low. It was too low. I had a bad feeling from the beginning. I think it was like maybe like 60 or something. I don't know. And then it doubled. It did double more than I went to like 220 or something. But I just knew from my cycle days, like, no, we weren't tracking ovulation, but I knew about when I like
Uh-huh.
always
And your
ovulate around the same time, typically, like,
and with
and
your daughter, was your like did you end up getting betas with her? And like so were you comparing it to like your
of
because
course.
I that's what I was doing. I'd be like, people would be like, oh no, that's how mine was, and I had a successful pregnancy. But I'd be like, no, not for me. That's not gonna
Okay,
be good. No,
you just
sorry.
know. So yeah, like we did that and we followed it. And then I did have a little bit of bleeding, I guess like a week later. And we did more betas and like they were doing like that kind of like not double, but like enough that the doctor was like, well, now really they say it's just really just like that 50%. So it was rising at that. But we had to keep monitoring because she was like, I don't know, could be ectopic. We have to, also check for that. So, but yeah, that one ended in a miscarriage. And then at that point, of course, I'm like, I'm ready. Like, I want baby number 2 now. Like, that
Right.
sparked it, and then here we are. I also like when I first had Hazel, my nephew was 2.5, and I just saw that interaction, and like he was like old enough to understand, that it was the baby, and like and he was like excited to help with things. You'd ask him, "Can you give me a diaper? Can you get a wipe?" And he would be like so excited, and I just like saw how he interacted with her, and I was like, that would be a great age gap. So,
Yeah.
like my husband and I had said, yeah, I think 2 to 2.5 would be, a good. And so at that point, it was like, okay, well, yeah, we need to
Get
kind of
on
really,
this.
yeah. So LOL when you think you can like control the timeline.
Right.
Uh,
And I mean, we
so
all kind of did that. Like, I love how, like, even though we had had experience with infertility, we still were like, oh, I love this age gap. Let's try it, you know?
I remember counting down, Kat. I was like, after my 30th birthday. I mean, literally, I was like, okay, then that will be number 2. I mean, literally, it's just so wild. We think it would work out that way, but it doesn't.
oh, so yeah, we um at that point, like I said, I was ready to try. So we waited for another cycle, and then I got another positive that December. And it was close to Christmas. And of course, I'm testing constantly. That's just what you do when you've had loss. You're always doing those little. I would always buy the what is it, the pre-mom one? So it's just like the
Yes.
little strips, and you follow it every day. And Christmas Eve morning, I knew. I was like, it's not getting darker. Like I knew. So that Christmas wasn't the best. But like I did have Hazel to focus on, and like this second time has been very different. Like it's like I guess easier in some ways because like I do have her, and I know so many like are still in their fertility journeys and don't have a single child. So like it's really hard. Like it's hard to like live in the grief, but also like in the joy. Like you're in just like weird places. You're so grateful, but also like you're still grieving, and like it's I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it. It's hard.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think, Amanda, you can, I mean, we both can relate to that. I think
Yeah.
for me, it was like the first time I was grieving I was grieving that I may never get the experience to be a mother. And that was the heaviest part of it for me. And so, like, to your point, you're still grieving. I mean, you're losing a pregnancy. I mean, that's massive. That's so huge. And you already have that experience of motherhood. So it's like, you're grieving getting to do that again more than you didn't even know how amazing it was. But then you're like, but I'm lucky enough to have experienced it.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think that was what's so hard too is that like I'm like, okay, I already know what life is like with like my son, and I so want more of him. He's like such a miracle and so amazing. I'm like, I want more of him. So then it's like grieving that of like, gosh, I just like want to be able to relive this all over again with more.
Yeah, and you look back at all those little like sweet baby moments and you're like, I never, so that's kind of what I was kind of alluding to earlier is like, I never looked at all of those first as also possibly last.
Yeah, it's so
And if I had had any inkling of what a second time around would look like, I think, just having like had that like in the back of my mind and heart, like in that time, I think would have been helpful for me because I think I could have like I don't know like coped a little bit better, like but yeah, I don't know.
No, I
It's
I
just
totally get your feelings completely. I
um,
mean, it's so valid. I think so many people can relate to it. That's like going through like technically secondary infertility now because it's so hard and like obviously I wish you wish you would have known that this like when you were going through it like you said that first time that like this potentially could be the last time that I like get to nurse or get to hold this baby or get to have these moments like I didn't know that that was going to be my last time ever experiencing it because it was finally such a miracle that it was my first time experiencing it. So I'm happy that obviously I cherished it, but again, I didn't know that it potentially could be my only time experiencing it.
yeah, definitely. Um, so yeah, so then okay, that was my second loss since Hazel. And at that point, I was at my OB and she just was like, I think at this point, like it's time because I guess this was like January by the time like I actually like went back to see her after passing the second one. But and yeah, I had like a trip planned with my mom, grandma, and Hazel, little girls trip. We just went to Charlotte for shopping. We came back a day early because I started bleeding. I was like, all right, I just want to get home. And like I knew it was gonna happen, but I also was like, either I sit at home and just wait, or like we go try to live life a little and enjoy this trip that we had planned. So we did, and I'm glad we did. I don't have regrets, but yeah, once I started, to bleed, I was like, okay, it's time to get home. Yeah, so then January I went back to my OB, and that's when she looked at me and I said, I think it's time that we go to, I, can give you some options, and I'll send over the recommendation, but I think it's time for you to go to see, a fertility clinic. And so I was very hesitant because nobody wants to be told, now this is where you have to go in your journey. But I reached out and I made the appointment, and I assumed that I was gonna have like a long wait. I went to one that was very close to my OB's office. I passed by it all the time. So I said, okay, I'll just go to that one. Like, I heard of it. And it was, the closest option for me. So that was the main reason I chose to go with them. So we go in for that first appointment. Like I said, like it got me in very quickly. So like it was February and I'm going in, and I guess I kind of skipped over. We did do blood work like right after my myomectomy. My AMH, it to me looked low, but my OB said, it's fine. Like, I think you could have some inflammation from surgery. If you're not able to get pregnant after 3 months, then like, I think that's when you should go see, maybe we'll.
Do you mind sharing it? I'm so curious what it was.
I know, but it's
let me look. I've got
like it was it lower than 1?
I think it was like 0.9. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's decently low.
It was, yeah, no, but she really felt like it was probably due to some of the inflammation from just having surgery.
And yeah, for sure.
Let's see.
Do you ever get it retested? Did it go up, or was it still the same, or did you not get it tested again?
Let's see.
It's interesting she said that about inflammation because no one ever said that to me, but I would always get it tested right after a loss. And I was like, don't you think that has something to do with it? And then mine, Amanda, I don't know if you remember this. Remember mine went up like a year later?
Remember that, yeah.
And not like significantly, but also it's supposed to be going down. So it had been like a year or so since I had tested it, and it like had actually gone up, which was crazy.
I know, I would actually be so curious.
Yeah, you should get yours retested.
Yeah, I mean, you should, and you just never know. But yeah, I couldn't find it. I don't know. I know it's saved in my files somewhere. But yeah, I think it was like 0.92 or something, if I recall from the top of my head. But I remember thinking, okay, that seems a little low. But then I got pregnant the second try, and so I just went on about my day and my life, and like, okay, whatever. But it's also weird to have low AMH and then be able to get pregnant so easily. Like I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like what? So of course, when I went to the fertility clinic, they do the whole panel and everything. And of course, the first thing he says when I tell him what that first number was, because he was like, have you ever had this blood work done before? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, yeah, that is low. We're going to redo it, of course, because now it had been some time. Yeah, so it came back, I think, pretty close to the same number. But I have that one more handy. But
I feel like in my experience, maybe Amanda's too, I feel like all the numbers, it just depends. I mean, they're all just like so for me, like to go through IVF and have fine AMH, get like to your point, I think you mentioned it earlier, have no issues getting pregnant naturally, and then go to through IVF and I get one freaking embryo. I'm like, what? Those doesn't align with.
And it's the two people that have the exact same AMH and have an entirely different outcome. So that's why, like, as much as like I want to always like share the numbers, it's like so hard because you also don't want to either give people like false hope of like, oh my gosh, we have the same AMH and look, she has 3 kids, or or vice versa, she has none, and now like you're super depressed because you think now you won't have any kids. So like,
right, it doesn't exactly
over the numbers.
True. It's. I mean, if yeah, I mean, you've got. Yeah, my last one, it did come back. It looks like, so this is just from this past year in July. So of course, well, fast forwarding, I ended up going to a second fertility clinic for a second opinion and ended up staying with them.
I feel like I know just geographically exactly what you're talking about, but I hear you.
Well, just to give an insight too, the only reason I didn't really consider my now fertility clinic was because they're, I mean, this is going to give things
30
away.
minutes away.
Yeah, they were too far of a drive for me. And then they opened up a second office.
There you go.
And it was, the timing was crazy. So I guess I'll come back up to where I was and then we'll go there. But yeah, they had just opened it by the time I decided to go to second opinion because I was like, where did this office come from? Like, this was not here before. This was the whole reason I didn't give them even like a, second look.
Right.
But yeah, so we got everything done that February. Of course, I also had to do an HSG. He did also do a quick scan that day, and I was close to ovulating. And in that time, he told me I think I had like 4 eggs on my right side and 2 on my left. So 6 eggs is all I had. And I think they said normally people have 8 and 8. Like that would be what most people have. And I left like it was like soul crushing.
Our stories are so similar. It's like the AFC, like the antral follicle count. And like she too was like, this is really low. And I'm like, well, lady, I get pregnant every time I try. So I don't know what you want from me.
Wild. So, and it looked like I was going to be ovulating from my left side that month, and I did not get pregnant. So we were able to go ahead and do the HSG. So I have a lot to say about this. I was given like he quickly did it. The right side apparently flowed great. The left side had just like stopped flowing. And he's just like, okay, it looks like you have a blockage on your left side. And I basically left the clinic, and that was all the information I had. And I'm just left like, what does that mean? Like, can we get rid? Like I ended up calling my
What are
nurse
we gonna do about it? What's next? Like, yeah.
I like called my nurse later. I'm like, I'm just like really baffled with that information that I was given. He didn't say anything else about it. Can we remove the blockage? Like what? Like I don't know what this means for me. And she's like, no, we don't like really remove blockages like that. Like your other tube is working, so like it's fine. I don't know. I didn't push because like I really just didn't know. Like,
It's like, why do the HSG then? Morons.
I'm like, it was wild. And then I had, of course, they prescribe you the doxycycline or whatever it is. I can't take it. I was throwing up like all night.
Really? Did they prescribe your husband it too, or just you?
Just me.
Interesting. DM us if you want the clinic names. I always get the funniest DMs. It's like,
well, I mean, I get what people want to know. I understand.
Yeah.
I do. I truly do, because I mean, when you have to go into that whole side of fertility, like, I mean, at that point, you want the best doctor and the doctor that's gonna take the best care of you. And I mean, you are literally at this point, you're begging someone.
And I feel like we don't share because it's like our personal experience at those clinics, or at least I don't like publicly share. But if someone asks me, if they're like, in episode 32, what clinic were you referring to? And I will tell them, but like I have friends that have had good experiences there and have had their kids.
I went to the first one too, because the other part of it was I also did know 2 people that have babies, and actually specifically from the doctor that I went to.
Yeah.
And so they obviously have great things to say about this doctor. So I ended up keep kind of going my story. I ended up getting pregnant again in April, from my March cycle. And it was like, again, testing. I could tell it was like my birthday. I could tell it's like, this isn't going to be a viable pregnancy again.
So that's your 5th loss.
But my numbers, yes. So my numbers always double. We always do those first 2 blood draws, and then we go back for that 3rd one, and then that's when so I always, besides the very first one where I had the miscarriage, I typically miscarry between like 5 and 6 weeks. The next one that I went through was in June. We were just doing progesterone supplements. I totally skipped over that. And I'll go back to my first appointment with that doctor as well, because I do think it's important to mention. But after that second loss being with that clinic, in June. So that one did not double. And we were about to go on vacation. We went to Cape Cod last summer, and like, it's like great. Because even that month, like before trying, I was like, do we try? Do we not?
Right.
Mhm.
Because I mean, that's like a whole nother
I
part of
ruined my
it.
vacation. Like,
Yeah, infertility. Do I ruin my vacation or do I have a great vacation or I don't want to wait any longer? And if I do, it's going to delay. I know, Amanda, you went through that a ton last year of like, I have to put my life on hold, or do I just deal with the horrific potential bad emotions that could happen?
I'm glad I'm glad we tried. I'm glad everything. I don't like everything happens for a reason, but I don't know. Everyone's story is their story. It happens the way that it does. And yeah, I don't really know that there's a why, but I am glad that we tried, and I'm glad that we went on our trip because, at that time, that second loss, and like this doctor was very clinical with me. And both of the losses that I had while I was with that clinic, I was told, it looks like you're having another biochemical. I'm sorry for your loss. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, thank you for just like
Dismissing.
diminishing it down to this is a biochemical
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that just to me, I was like, this is not the doctor for me. Like, I will say that first initial appointment, I did appreciate that he wasn't trying to push IVF on me. I wasn't ready for that yet. But also I have mixed feelings on it because I feel like, obviously clinics at the end of the day, like their success rates matter. And in a way, part of me, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not trying to throw this clinic under the bus by any means, but I do feel like, I was looked at like, okay, this girl's recurrent loss, she has a low AMH. He broke it down for me and he was like, you might get one fit embryo. Because of course, he said, if you do IVF, you have to do PGT, a
Yeah.
testing and all that. And, because he just his thing was he just felt like I had a higher number of bad quality
Which is so
eggs.
annoying.
Yes. So,
Especially for
that
you,
was
because you never
only
really could test the babies between 5 and 6 weeks. Like in my
exactly my first loss.
situation,
I
yeah,
didn't know. So guess what? That baby was flushed on the toilet.
right,
Like, it was my first one. No doctor at that point is going to tell you we should test that because
right.
they,
It's fine.
they tell you if you try after a loss within, I think if you try within the first 3 to 6 months, like the success rate of having a
Yeah,
healthy pregnancy. But I mean, I defy like every single statistic.
me too.
Like, it's just, it's like what they say 1 in 4, or, like,
It's
and
1%
there's
of
like,
people have reoccurrent loss.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, it's like, what do they say? Like 1 in 4 pregnancy ends in miscarriage.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what is like 7 out of 8. Please, tell me that percentage.
I know.
Like, and then like the chance of getting pregnant any given month is like 20% chance.
Okay, well, it's like
Defy
98.
that.
Yeah, I know.
So like, I mean, it just
I wonder if you
doesn't,
have the same, you still don't have a diagnosis, right?
nope. And
You,
I don't know that I ever will.
yeah.
So, I mean, so after that loss, when we came back from our vacation, it was just like weighing on my heart. I'm like, I think we should get a second opinion. But it's also scary. It's like now I jumped ship and like, was I making the right decision? Like, I don't know. But I met with my now REI, and like after that, like, and he looked at me and I told him all the things that I was told at the other clinic, and he was baffled, totally baffled. I'm
We have the
sure.
same doctor, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
He hated that I was given, this like percentage, like, of what chance I would have to have a successful, IVF baby. Like, he was like, we don't know until we do it. Like, we
Right.
don't know. So
Yeah.
like, and I really appreciated that about him. Also looking at my HSG that was done, he was like, after telling him my experience, I didn't have any pain. I had no pain from that procedure. So if you have a blockage, you should have a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Um, so fast forward a little bit, still wasn't quite ready to do IVF. I said, let's try one more time. I think I got one more in me. Um, so I, it was, we tried again that July. And then in August, I had to actually go back to my, oh my goodness, my mind's blanking on what kind of doctor it's called, and I feel so dumb right now. But it's my same doctor. I had to go back to get my hemorrhoid. We had to do
A
another surgery. Like it
colorectal?
did. Thank you, colorectal doctor. Which if anybody needs one, let me know. I can tell you the best in Charleston. She's amazing. I love her. But like, it's just a difficult surgery for healing, and so like, unfortunately, mine just did not heal 100%. So we had to go back in again. So
Oh,
I go in for surgery, and this is the most wild thing, and I still will never understand. I got a period, what was just like a normal period, blood the same amount, everything. And so I'm literally checked in the hospital for surgery and my gown, everything. They make you do a pregnancy test always.
Oh gosh.
Positive. And I'm like, excuse
ah,
me? I'm like, there's no way. And at this point, I had just started the estrogen because we were about to, because we didn't get pregnant that month, right? So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go ahead. We're full swing. We just started the estradiol, and I mean, I had met with my colorectal doctor, and she was like, okay, well, let's hurry. She was like, I have an opening. Let's get this in so you can get this done before you get on all the,
Yeah.
the full, to start doing your shots and everything.
what
She's
number
like,
pregnancy was this? 8?
so this would have
7?
been, yeah, 8, I guess, because this was, or yeah, this would have been number 8 because 2 before Hazel, she was 3, and then I had,
You've shared
this
3
would
or
have been,
4
this was 5 since her. Yeah, this was number 5. So, but I knew something was off, and I was like, there's just no way. Like I had a
because
period.
you were bleeding.
Yeah, and they were like, well, maybe you're really early, and I'm like, no, we're not, because my husband I wouldn't let touch me. Like I can tell you, that, like at this point we're doing IVF. Like I get pregnant. Like I
Stop.
couldn't touch me. Like it's
You're
not.
probably having this like full freak out mode.
Yeah.
Like
You're wrong. You're
operating.
wrong.
Yeah. So I'm like, the only way is if I was like 7 weeks. And so they do a blood draw, and this precious nurse, like bless her heart, she comes back and she's like, it's 700. I'm like, that's a bad number. Thank you though. Because I know like where I would have to be. And like, but thank you. Like I felt for her because she's like so excited, thinking she's sharing good news. And I'm like, it's not good news.
Oh
That's terrible.
no.
So yeah, I'm like, at that point, it's a little scary, but I didn't have any symptoms. And I'm like, I'm 7 weeks pregnant. Like I was like, I had like the 24/7 nausea with Hazel, like the exhaustion. Like I didn't have any of that. Like I
So
did
did you have
not
to leave? You couldn't even
at
do your
all.
freaking.
No, I couldn't do my surgery. Like
And at that point, I mean, I feel you because like when you've been pregnant
so
800
mad.
times, it's just like this is just one more irritant to the list.
Yep. So, and of course, then we had to monitor for a few days, and then we go in for a scan. It's ectopic. And spoiler alert, not on the left side, not on the side that I had a blockage. On my
Oh
right.
my God. An ectopic after all of this?
Yep. Yep. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I just like had this like feeling.
Did you
Yeah.
have any pain?
But I had like, so it all like the only symptoms that I will say that like I felt like I had was around the same time I had just started the estrogen. Like I was very tired. I had some spotting, which I had messaged my nurse about, and she was like, no, that's not really normal. But like, again, like for somebody that like pays so much attention to their cycles, and like their cycle is so regular, the fact that I had like a regular period.
Yeah, at the right time. That is
Like,
weird.
it was on time.
That's wild.
That is
I
weird.
tested like a day before, and it was negative, and then the next day I got my period. So I didn't test anymore because why would like it was a heavy. I'm still to this day like I will never be able to explain it. It is the most bizarre thing, but yeah. So when I sat down with my REI, and he's like, okay, these are your options. You can do the methotrexate, which is like a cancer drug. But the problem with it is if we did that, first of all, it might not work. You might still have to remove that tube. And then you have to wait like 3 months before you can try it. And I was like, well, absolutely not. We're on this train. Like at this point, I don't need my tubes. I've already decided like I'm doing IVF. Like
that's the hardest part I feel like about like people in our situation that can conceive easily. It's like it almost makes the decisions harder because you're like, no, I've already grieved that we're going to conceive naturally or spontaneously. We're doing IVF, and then it just like throws the wrench in it. You're like, oh my God, no, I was planning on IVF.
So in a way, it was like easy to say pull the tube because I was like, I mean, we're gonna do IVF anyway, but also like it's like a part of you, like, you're supposed to be able to have babies. Like this is not supposed to be this hard, and like to let go of a tube, like knowing that like like
Yeah, well, and it's
it
the
came to
tube that
me.
didn't already have a history of potentially being blocked. So you're like, okay, now do I have
And that
no
was the
choice?
side, my right side had more eggs, and they had
Right.
said like the follicles are more like probably pretty similar every month. So like in my head, I'm like, I have less of a chance of getting pregnant on the left side. So like it just, yeah, it was just like a lot. But I had to go in surgery that day. Yeah, my OB, like I love my OB. Like I do think she is truly wonderful. She was off that day. She came into the OR to do my surgery for me. She was like, I was just at Costco. It's fine.
Oh,
Oh, that is so sweet. I love that.
Yeah, so I have nothing but great things to say about her. But yeah, so had that tube removed. And then like I guess it was like a month later, I got my other surgery done, my colorectal doctor. And then we were able to get back on track with doing an egg retrieval, which we did middle of November. Um, and yeah, that was a whole, that's a lot. That's a lot. I women that go through many, many rounds of it, like
yeah,
I'm
I was
so
a
impressed.
one and done person. I mean, I just like I couldn't, and I know Amanda, you did 3 rounds. Like I just couldn't do more than one. And maybe had my story been different after I had said I'm done, like maybe I would have gone back, but it's a lot
It's hard to
emotionally.
say, like, and I went into it like obviously like I do have good insurance, but like I mean it still costs a lot of money. Like it doesn't cover it all, I'll tell you that. And so I am grateful to have any coverage whatsoever. Um, but yeah, mine is very good. And like so, my husband and I like I just the fact that I knew I had less eggs and it could be a quality issue because that's just what was like driven down my throat. I felt
Right.
like for so long at this point, like was it's got to be your egg quality. It's you. Like your husband's stuff came back fine. Oh, I totally kind of skipped over something. The balance translocation. You and I actually talked about that at one point because you
Yeah.
were getting something done, and that was one thing my first clinic I asked about. Like,
They didn't do
yeah.
that?
He told me you have a healthy daughter. Like, I don't think you have it.
Okay, so that's the difference
I
between
pushed
you and
him.
I.
I finally pushed them to do it
Yeah.
because like but because he's like it's a very expensive test, and I'm like, well,
Well, so
at
is
this point,
everything else.
you're
Like I'm
literally
willing to pay.
we're not a fertility clinic. Like all of this is expensive. Like if I want to
It's
pay for it,
yeah.
I want to do it. And finally, he was like, okay, we can do it. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like
Yeah.
I just like don't understand that. If somebody's asking you about a test, like, and they're
Yeah.
willing to pay for it, like, just, I mean,
Do it.
and
Yeah.
just,
Just run the
like,
test.
I mean, just a little bit of reading that I've done on it, like, yes, you can have a healthy child. It's kind of just the luck of
It's
the draw.
literally just yeah, like what percentage, what round? It's like Russian roulette. What round did you get the healthy one? Yeah.
It came back normal, but I still like it made me feel better. Okay, that's another thing we
Yeah.
can check off the list. Like, okay, this is good. We don't have it because also part of why I wanted to have it tested was okay, if like me or my husband have this, Hazel could have it.
Yeah.
If I can save her down the road
Yeah.
when she goes to try for babies and like we have this knowledge,
Yeah.
that's huge. It's a
Yeah,
game
for
changer. So,
sure.
it wasn't just for like me trying to have another baby, it was also for her. But anyway, so yeah, so we go through the first egg retrieval. They kept pushing it back a little because I had more follicles that kept growing, and so I was like, okay, yay, yay, yay. And then when we come out of my retrieval, we end up with 8 mature eggs, which I was like so crushed by. Like, I was really like hoping to get like, I don't know, 11 or 13 just because like more kept growing like each
Yeah.
time we would go in to look. And I was like, so immediately I'm like crying.
We have such a
Um,
similar story.
the doctor's like,
Things
quality, not
good.
quantity. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but I'm already told that my quality is bad. So like, like what? But it really we got very lucky. The next day, 7 of the 8 had fertilized. So we felt really good about that. And then we got 5 blastocysts to be sent out.
Wow.
Awesome.
Right. So those results came back. This is still so frustrating to start. So we know we have one abnormal, two came back inconclusive. So that's like so
Oh,
frustrating.
that's weird.
Didn't
It's
have
so
enough
great.
DNA to test. So like those are sitting on ice and I
Gosh,
don't
that
know.
quickly takes
Even
you from 5 to 2.
right. So, and then if it was going to be the same gender, I didn't want to know, but I did ask my nurse, did we like, is it the same gender? And she said, no. So, so we got one of each that were normal, but the one that came back abnormal, like it's still, I just can't, like, it's so frustrating. It was paternal. It
Oh,
wasn't even me. So like, like we just to be told for so long, it's your egg quality.
wait, I see Amanda's face. Amanda, when you found out about yours, did they distinguish between maternal or paternal?
No, that's why I'm so confused.
I
I'm
know
like,
I
when
saw your face
they
immediately.
come from,
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
said
what?
paternal. Like, I mean,
Call your clinic. I'm
Now
just
it's like want to go through my like results because they all were just missing 100 million chromosomes, but I just like don't know the maternal or wait, I'm back up.
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, ours literally said it, and I was like, you've got to be kidding
So it
me.
basically just saying that the like abnormalities
Yeah,
from
and it gave exactly. I think one was like he had like one depleted and like one extra. Like it was like two
yeah.
different things.
um,
Yeah, it was I didn't know. I really didn't know it was going to be that specific. And then the
Okay,
lab.
so quick recap. Hold on. So you had seven, five, six, seven miscarriages before you went into IVF. You have your healthy daughter, so 8 pregnancies. We're not that far, and this was less than 6 months ago, right? At this point, like this was like this past November.
Past November. Yep.
November, December, January, February, March. We're April right now, so 6 months ago. Okay,
So
so you're
well,
fine.
so we at that point had planned for like an early January transfer. Um, and go in, for your saline sonohystogram or whatever, for them to look at your uterus and make sure everything looks good. And listen, I had just had a tube removed. My OB said she looked all in there and
Yeah,
everything was pristine, looked good. So like she was like, if I see anything, I'll scrape things out, like whatever, 'cause I was like, worried about maybe while you're in there, can you just make sure there's no endo, like
yeah.
anything. I'm just like, I don't know, like just double check it all, and she did. And so like I go in for this, check and I'm like, this is gonna be the one thing that's gonna be easy for me. Like it's gonna be great. Like, no, I have polyps. So they're like, we're gonna have to do they called it hysteroscopy. And we scheduled it for I think it was supposed to be like December 19th. I got strep throat.
Oh, jeez.
So I had to cancel that. And of course, it's the holidays. So you're not getting back in until January.
Uh,
So then we go in, it was January 9th. There was too many. So we couldn't do it in office. I had to go back a
there's
week
too
later.
many.
Yeah, like there's like a tool, I guess, that makes it easier. It would have been like a very long process for him to, and
Yeah.
so like, I mean, I went under and came back out like very quickly. He was like, we're gonna do this at the hospital because they have a tool there that like will literally scrape it all out and like be done quickly. So
poor
like
thing.
a week later, I think it was the 16th, and we got everything, so at least that went as planned, that one. And then we were able to do a transfer on the 19th. Like this was a very hard time for me, like leading up to the transfer. Like the closer we got, like the more anxious I got. Because I had just been like so like focused on the IVF stuff, for so long. And like at that point, like we weren't, trying because again, I get pregnant so easily, so I hadn't been in that headspace of, okay, if I get pregnant, I could have another loss. And like the closer we got to it, like it was really, really hard, like mentally and emotionally. I mean, I had my nurse like crying with me before the transfer because most people go in there excited because, like a lot of people that are doing IVF is because they can't get pregnant. And like, so I think I was like I think I kind of shocked her at how like I had just like a very different
I'm glad you brought that up
reaction.
because it's like you're terrified to get pregnant, but you're still gonna try. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
So yeah, like I, like and she sat there and cried with me. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about the entire staff at my clinic. Like I'm like, yeah, they're just the most wonderful, wonderful, empathetic. Um, they're just, yeah, top notch.
I agree.
um, so but yeah, so we did not choose the gender. That just, I don't know, for me, just didn't feel right. And I also like, I didn't want to know.
Well, it's
Um,
some
I just,
normalcy. Like if it worked, like let's do a gender
right,
reveal.
exactly. So, but also, I didn't act like the day of transfer again. They were like, "Are you sure you don't want to know?" And I'm like, "Yes, I don't. I'm good. I'm good." I just told them transfer the one that's the best.
I
That's
didn't find out
we're good.
either. I called like a year after I lost it.
I
Yeah, and I was like, "Can you tell me what it was?"
can't
Because
believe you waited here. I would have had to know.
I waited a
But
long time.
for me, I was like, I told my husband, I said, I don't want to know because I'll get even more attached. Like you do
Yeah.
get attached, when you get that positive test, like your mind, like you start planning what this life is gonna be like with this baby. And then I think when you know the gender, like too, like it's just like I just know
Harder.
myself, like,
Yeah.
and I can't know right away. So, but no, good news, it worked.
So
So
sweet.
as of yesterday, 11 weeks along. And
Gosh.
we did find out. We did a little cake reel. And
This will be delayed if did you say it was a girl?
it's a girl, yeah. Which, yeah, like I'm really excited. I thought it was gonna be a boy, just because I have saved so much girl stuff. I've saved like everything. So I was like, I just feel like this would have been God's way of like laughing at me again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
You
that
can
is like amazing
control the,
on so
um,
many levels. Like that it was
yeah.
IVF that brought you the success, and then just like that it was the first one. Like, and
I really didn't think the first transfer was gonna work. Like, I don't know. When you've had so much loss, like, I just was like preparing myself, I don't know. And then I don't know. In a way,
congratulations.
I was also convinced, thank you. I was convinced like something else was wrong
Yeah.
too. I don't know. I just,
Those
um,
those first several weeks had to be really difficult mentally.
oh, like hey, it's at 6 weeks to the day. I was dropping off our toddler at school. She goes to a 3 days a week program. My mom has her the other two, but it was a Friday morning, and I go to get out the car. It was funny. I called my husband on the way. I said, I don't feel good. Something doesn't feel right. I had a little bit of cramping. Um, yeah, so I felt off. And then by the time I got to her school, it's like a 25-minute drive. And I got out the car. I had to get back in the car. I was like gushing blood.
Oh my God.
So yeah, really traumatic. And like I'm trying to not lose it in the car with her. Like
Yeah.
she knew, like she could tell something was wrong. She was quiet, but I tried to put on her music, but like I called my husband. I'm coming back home. I gotta call the doctor. I don't know what's going on. I called my mom, and just like I just it was wild. And we went in to the fertility clinic, and they looked. I was praying it was a hematoma, but they couldn't tell on that day. So, but I had my original 6 week, 4 day ultrasound already scheduled for that following Tuesday. So I went back on Tuesday. But we did see a flicker of a heartbeat on that Friday. So like, which was like the most like baffling thing. I was like, what? Because I was just, it was like I'm miscarrying.
Oh my gosh. And you
Like
had to wait through the weekend and oh my
it was
goodness.
awful. It was terrible. I had like a friend in town that was staying with another friend, and I just was like, we were all, obviously all supposed to get together, and I was like, I can't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I
I'm
love
like literally
you.
paralyzed until I find out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like literally spent like they didn't tell me bed rest, but like I did. Like I just was
You're
like,
like, I'm not moving from this
yeah,
spot.
exactly. Like, but yeah, the bleeding, it went away by like, Saturday. Like, but like, and then so we went in on Tuesday, and that's when So I saw the other doctor that Friday, because my doctor was not there. And then I saw, my normal doctor on Tuesday, and he could see, it was like, yeah, it's a hematoma. And then we just continued to watch like weekly, but it was just like
So hard.
obviously so I mean grateful. Like I couldn't believe that that was like I was getting like the miracle outcome because they've never done that. So like that whole weekend I was just like,
Oh my
just
gosh. Well,
wait for this to work out.
congratulations. We are
Thank
so
you.
excited for you. Oh, I mean, what a story. I feel like people probably heard the first like 20 minutes and they're like, oh, she got pregnant so easily. But then like the second piece of it was just such, and I think you alluded to it, like we've let go of trying to have three. This was an insane journey just to get to two.
Just want to
And
end on
still
like a
in it.
good note, like a positive, I'm like if I get to be blessed with two, like I think this is
Yeah,
smart. And I'm tired. I'm really tired.
I hear ya.
I
Well,
did forget the first trimester. I'm like,
I know. I know. You're almost out of it. Well, thank you so, so much.
thank
We
you.
appreciate you sharing your story. I know that all the little parts of your story will help more than one person. So we appreciate you being so vulnerable.